Indiana football just landed one of its biggest targets yet in the transfer portal.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. You can continue the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, thank you so much for being here, truly making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. As we get closer and closer to Friday, we're going to take a look at the college football playoff a little bit more, talk about the games and why Indiana Notre Dame might just be the most hyped up one of the first round. Plus, we got some confusing comments from Mike Woodson regarding the play of Indiana against Minnesota. That was fine, but the play against Nebraska, we'll get to that in just a little bit as well. But Indiana and Curt Cignetti with a ton of focus on the college football playoff and the concerns that we've had with their lack of attention to the portal, not in a bad way, just because of the schedule and the calendar and the timing. None of that matters right now because Indiana shut us up in a very good way. They go after one of their biggest targets in the transfer portal, and they get him. That's right, a defensive line transfer from Western Kentucky, Hosea Wheeler. He is a monster at 6'3", 300 pounds. Yes, 6'3", 300 pounds from Western Kentucky, has great experience coming from there. He also has 1 season of eligibility remaining. This dude's a stud. Just go watch him. Go watch his film at Western Kentucky. This dude can absolutely get after the football, and he can take on double teams. He can get out to the edge. He'll run a play down from behind. He doesn't care. He just flat out gets after it. And I think this is one of the best, if not the best addition that Indiana has made so far. Of course, we've only made a couple. You've got a DB, you've got a kicker, you've got a punter. Running back situation is still a little iffy with the UAB kid, but this is your best get so far in the portal. And what I like is what I've already told you, is the fact that this was one of Indiana's top targets in the portal, and they got him. He visited Wisconsin and Texas A&M, and ultimately, he chose Indiana. So that should speak very highly of what Curt Cignetti is doing here, what this staff is doing here, and what Indiana is starting to mean and relate to people, and how you're starting to make an impact to some of these kids, and they want to come and play here. They not only do they want to visit, they want to be here. They want to play for IU. And man, that's incredible to hear and to see. Let me read you some of the stats for this guy. In this past season, he was first team All-Conference USA on the defensive side of the football, was Hosea Wheeler. He recorded 74 tackles, 5 of those being for loss, 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hurries, 2 blocked kicks, 1 forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Let me say those stats again. After a first team All-Conference USA's season at Western Kentucky, 74 tackles, 5 of those for loss, 2 sacks, 2 hurries on the quarterback, 2 blocked kicks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. See ball, get ball. That's what Hosea Wheeler does. And there are some really, really good breakdowns of him. And I think you bring in somebody who is an immediate impact player on a defensive line for Indiana that we still don't really know what it's going to look like next season, right? Because you've got some guys graduating, but you look back through that roster and there's a lot of young guys there. Plus, you've got some coming in your 2025 class, but this guy brings experience. Now, unfortunately, he does fall into that category of a 1-year rental, right? He's only got the 1 year of eligibility remaining, but you bring him in to most likely be a starter on your defensive front. You don't go get a guy like this if you don't expect him to start. Now, if he doesn't earn it or doesn't win the job or whatever, that's a different story. But the goal to go and get somebody like this is to have him start. And again, 6'3", 300 pounds. He's from California. Been playing in Kentucky, in the state of Kentucky. Now he's making the trip and coming up to Indiana. Really, really excited about this kid and what it's going to do for Indiana moving forward. I still think, as I've continued to say, I still think we need a quarterback in the portal. I do. I believe that. I still think we need one. You can never have enough nowadays, in my opinion. You can never have enough dudes in your quarterback room. If the UAB running back is going to be an Indiana Hoosier, which that continues to just go back and forth. One day he is here, the next day he's leaving, then he's signed, now he's not. Who knows? So even so, I think another one wouldn't hurt for Indiana on that side of things. You're still looking to try and get some playmakers on the outside, still looking to get defensive backs, which again, you've got the one, but you're looking for more. And so far, I'm still impressed by Indiana's portal class and their portal takes. And unfortunately, at this point in the week, on Tuesday, you're probably done in the portal for the next several days. And I'm sure a lot of you saw and heard the comments from Curt Cignetti about they're having no phones in the building. They're locking down for the playoff. They're getting ready for Notre Dame. So I'll say this. You should probably expect a little less portal news here over the next few days, and that's understandable given that Notre Dame is on Friday for the college football playoff. So again, Hosea Wheeler, transfer from Western Kentucky on the defensive line. I love this kid, and I think he's really, really good. It's a huge get for Indiana, one of their top targets in the portal, and they got him over Wisconsin and over Texas A&M, somebody who I think steps in and starts on day one. All right, coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers, going to take a look at what Mike Woodson had to say during his weekly radio show. Just some confusing comments when talking about the Nebraska game. Some comments that, I'll be honest, I just kind of disagree with. We'll have that coming up for you next here on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by the College Football Playoff on TNT. It's that time of year. The College Football Playoff is back. And with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT sports coverage of College Football Playoff begins December 21st. All right, TNT has it starting on Saturday with the College Football Playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Leading into our first matchup, the SMU Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the College Football Playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and on Max. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again for being here, and shout out to all of my everydayers. I thank you every day because you come back every day, and it really does mean a lot to me that you are making this your first watch or your first listen, your go-to spot for Indiana athletics. Talking a lot of football, transfer portal, college basketball, and really do appreciate that you're here. If you're watching on the video side, you know what to do at this point, right? Be sure you like this video. Comment down below your thoughts on Hosea Wheeler, the defensive line transfer for Indiana football. Want to hear your thoughts on who else Indiana should be going after in the transfer portal. And then be sure, if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, okay? We're pushing to 4,000 subs. We're over 39. We're trying to get to 4,000 by the start of the new year. I think we can do it. I believe, but I need your help. So be sure that you do that for me. Really helps the show grow and get out there for more people to find it. And for all of those of you that listen on audio as well, I really do appreciate you listening on the way to work or in the kitchen or in the garage, wherever you do, really appreciate you being here and a supporter of Locked On Hoosiers. Let's talk a little basketball because Mike Woodson had his weekly radio show where he talks about previous games, upcoming games, gives some updates and things like that. And he had some confusing comments. I'm not going to lie to you. Some confusing comments from Mike Woodson. And I do want to shout out Jared Kelly at Pigs IU, the 247 site for Indiana. I normally don't have a chance to listen to this show live just because of life duties and responsibilities. He does a great job. He just writes it out, a transcript basically of everything that was said, Woodson's answers to different questions. So that's what I'm reading from right now. And there are just so many things in here. He had a few comments about Minnesota, not really concerned about that. Indiana won. They looked good doing it. It was the comments about the Nebraska game where one of his first thoughts and first responses was, quote, "I thought our defense was pretty good. We had some lapses, but in terms of closing out to guys making shots, they made some tough shots," end quote. Yeah, they made some tough shots, but I'm not going to say Indiana's defense was pretty good. I just don't think I can say that because I don't think it's true. I think it's a lie. I think that's false. That's fake news, as some people would say, not to get political. And it's been bad for quite some time. And yeah, you had some lapses, but we always have lapses, right? You can see there are times where, yeah, when they play with high energy, high focus, and communication, look at the Minnesota game. Your defense was incredible in that game, and it showed. Yes, Minnesota's not that great of a team, but Nebraska's not either. I'm still not convinced that Nebraska is a world beater on the hardwood this season, but we made them look a lot better than they are. And I'm tired of Indiana doing that. And it starts on the defensive end of the floor. And I've seen some people comment on the videos and seen a lot of Hoosiers fans on social media talking about how Indiana's defense has just gotten worse during the Mike Woodson tenure here in Bloomington. And I don't fully disagree with that, to be honest with you. And I just don't understand why you can have it one night and not have it another. You know the old saying, defense travels, right? Oh, you're on the road. It's going to be tough, but thank goodness we have our defense to keep us in the game. Indiana doesn't have that. We don't have that luxury because we have no idea what team is going to show up. If it's on the road in conference play, I can tell you what team is going to show up. We've seen this story time and time again. So I don't really know what game Mike Woodson is watching here, talking about how the defense was pretty good. I just don't think so. Not for 40 minutes, it wasn't. And that's just confusing to me. He did bring something up or was asked about something that I failed to mention in yesterday's show that I do want to talk about here right now. He said, quote, "We had wide open shots. I mean, you take 35 threes, the most we've taken since I've been here. And we charted 24 of those threes were wide open and we just didn't make them." Let's say something and get this out of the way right now. This Indiana team and the several past Indiana teams should never, ever, ever, ever take that many threes in a basketball game. You're not good enough to take 35 threes. Give me a break, man. Now, I know 10 of those came from Luke Goody. I get it. But still, you're not good enough to shoot that many threes because you don't make that many threes. Don't even get close. And I understand you had to shoot because they doubled up Umar Ballo and Malik Renew. And he has some comments about that we'll get to in just a second. And you were almost forced to shoot those. But he said the coaching staff charted 24 of those as, quote, wide open. And Indiana just didn't knock them down. Maybe that's a sign, guys. Maybe that's a sign that you shouldn't shoot that many. That maybe you just don't have it in the bag to knock them down from deep. you better find it. Mbako, Goody, Rice, Carlisle, Galloway, those guys have to find it. But if you're not making them, quit shooting threes. His comments about Malik Renew and Umar Ballo, because look, they struggled in this game. I believe he was asked about the combination of points and how it was just almost non-existent in that first half from Ballo and from Malik Renew. Just says they've got to step up more. They have to step up in their role as older guys on the team. And yeah, says Nebraska doubled them quite a bit and took them out of the game. Well, then maybe try to find ways to get them back into the game. They're too good to just have them locked down and for Indiana to throw our hands up and say, well, you got us. Good defense, Nebraska. You did a good job. Guess we don't have any other options. Give me a break, man. You've got to find ways to bring them out. High ball screens, pick and roll. I've been saying it for years. And Indiana refuses to do it on the offensive end of the floor. Just confusing comments by Mike Woodson that I just, it's frustrating, man. It's so frustrating because you feel like this is such a good team. And I've said all offseason that this is a good team. And yet, here we are, and we see the same problems. Different players, but same issues. And some of the same players and the same issues again. And it all comes back to one man. It comes back to your head coach. And you've got to find a way to improve and get better and overcome some of these struggles that are so consistently bad for Indiana. Defense, shooting, poor half-court offense. Effort. Now, he says the last couple of days of practice, they've been competitive. Okay, good for you. Practice doesn't mean anything if it doesn't translate to wins in the game. I don't care how competitive you are in practice. And if you show up and you don't play like that in a game, that doesn't make any sense to me. And so I don't know what the issue is. Maybe it's a mentality thing. Maybe it's a bad message. I don't know what it is. But Indiana's got to find a way to fix it. And Mike Woodson's job is at stake. You would think he would understand that. You would think he would coach that way, realizing his job is on the line right now. This season, it's up for grabs. And it just doesn't seem that way. And it doesn't seem like anything's going to change. And here's what's upsetting. If nothing changes, this team will be mediocre at best. We'll be lucky to make the NCAA tournament. If we play the rest of our Big Ten games like we did against Nebraska on Friday night, we'll be 500 in the league at best. And we may miss the tournament again. And if that happens, you can go ahead and show Mike Woodson the door because we know how that goes, and that is not acceptable here in Bloomington. All right, final segment coming up on Locked On Hoosiers. We'll flip back to We'll flip back to football as the college football playoff is quickly approaching. And Indiana, Notre Dame, man, everybody's looking forward to this game, not just here in the Hoosier State, but it seems like across the country. We'll talk about that coming up on our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, whether it be Thursday night football, or how about Monday night football last night, or maybe it's just on a Sunday afternoon, you can check out the latest stats, view play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Prize Picks. Look, Prize Picks is one that I use all the time. And it's different because you get to do all these combinations. You get to have player props and you get to put them together and you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made the daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. So, look, if you know something, if you think LeBron's going for 50 or 30 points tonight, cool. Put it in a combination with Ja Morant to make a few threes. You go more than, less than. It really is that simple. The NBA is where I live on Prize Picks with different player props. Again, I'm a huge Halliburton guy. Always like to look at his numbers on Prize Picks as well. And look, it's just so easy. You can get on there super quick, super easy, and you have a chance to win big, big bucks. Okay, so be sure that you download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much again for being here. To all my everydayers, you are incredible and growing by the day. So thank you so much for supporting this show. However you do that, liking the video, commenting, if you're a subscriber, if you listen, if you share it, however you do, really do appreciate you and being a part of Locked On Hoosiers. And so as the college football playoff, isn't it crazy as it approaches? I was going to say, isn't it crazy how it's this week? We play Friday. It's coming up in just a few days. You can count them on one hand on how close we are to the playoff. And I really do believe that the Indiana Notre Dame game might just be the most hyped up, the most anticipated game of the first round. And what's really cool about it is we play on Friday night. Nobody else plays. We're the only game on ESPN, and you cannot miss it. The entire college football world will be watching Indiana and Notre Dame. Now, they've done a good job, ESPN has, of course, with, or I guess all the TV networks, right, of spreading them out to where there's no competitors, right? There's no 2 games happening at the same time. Makes sense. The TV markets know what they're doing. But my point is Indiana plays standalone on Friday night before all the chaos happens on Saturday. Now, this is a good thing or it could be a bad thing for us as Indiana fans because we'll watch the game Friday night and we're either going to love watching games on Saturday or we may not watch any games on Saturday because we're in a bad mood. Depends on how the game on Friday goes. But, man, the ticket prices are still insane. The anticipation, that's the word I keep going back to because everybody's talking about Indiana and Notre Dame, and not just here in the state. I'm talking about people across the country. Just look on social media and listen to different shows and how people are discussing this game. It's going to be really, really good. And Notre Dame is still about a touchdown favorite. Man, why would you not, if you're into that sort of thing, right? Go to FanDuel.com, right? Why would you not sprinkle a little money on Indiana to hang around, to keep it close, to stay in the game against Notre Dame? Now, night game at Notre Dame, I get it, but man, Indiana's been solid all year long. Why would you not take us to at least be in the ball game in the fourth quarter? Not saying that's what I'm going to do, but you never know, right? Really looking forward to Indiana, Notre Dame. You've got SMU, Penn State, Clemson, Texas, Tennessee, Ohio State. I mean, really, really good games in the first round. I think the second biggest game, or I guess most anticipated, probably Tennessee, Ohio State, then Clemson, Texas, and then SMU and Penn State. But I'm just going to say it. I think Indiana, Notre Dame is the top game of the first round. The Tennessee, Ohio State game is going to be good too, but I think Tennessee got hosed. I'm just going to say that. I think Tennessee got the short end the shaft, if you will, having to go to Columbus, but that's a conversation for a different time. Really, really looking forward to the college football playoff. And again, stay tuned. Big announcement coming up here for Locked On Hoosiers on what we're going to do for a post-game show for the Indiana and Notre Dame game. So stick around later in the week. Maybe make that announcement tomorrow. We're getting some things finalized, so just stick with us here. Big announcement coming for a post-game party here on Locked On Hoosiers. So we'll have more for you on that as the week goes on. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here. If you haven't already, be sure you like the video, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. And if you're on the audio side, if you can subscribe on your platform, great. Be sure you do that. If not, just follow us. That's all you got to do. And turn on those notifications so you never miss a new episode, okay? We're back tomorrow, Hoosier fans. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.